posterior chain. So we're gonna do glutes, hamstrings, upper back. We're gonna start off with the glute drive, getting the glutes in their shortened position. It is a good idea to train the shortened position first. I hate doing the glute drive, so that's why I do it first. Then we're gonna do some RDLs, getting the hamstrings in their mid to lengthen ranges, maybe some squats, or I might do leg press again. I do a lot of the same movements and you will find that, but that's okay. You're still watching. And then we'll do some back. So pull-ups and probably some single arm rows. So I used to do like a top set and a back off set, but then I figured that if I was just taking each set to a close proximity to failure, that was fine enough. So now I just do straight sets. For my clients, let's say they've got a very stressful job and they might not get a good night's sleep. They might just have a high workload or something like that, and they're very fatigued, very stimulated up here without the gym kind of being a priority. So then what I would say to them is we've got 2 rep ranges. We've got 6 to 8 reps and we've got, I don't know, like 10 to 13 reps. If you're feeling strong and you've got plenty of energy that day, do the 6 to 8, have a higher intensity, overload that movement pattern. And then if you're feeling fatigued, you didn't get a good night's sleep, you've got all this other stuff on your mind, do the higher rep range and go for a lower weight. So maybe like your 10 to 13 and stick to those, but still take each one to a close proximity to failure. Another thing that you can do is like, let's say that if you've got free weight squats on your program and you're exhausted both mentally and physically, then swap that for something like the hack squat or a leg press that's going to be more externally stabilized, and you're not going to run into that risk of causing injuries or having to focus on like your stability throughout the movement. Top tips for the RDLs. Stay as close to the freaking dumbbell rack as you can, because if you're going heavy, which you should be doing, you just want to chuck them when you're done. You don't have to pick them back up from the ground, or you can put them on the bench if like you don't want to be annoying. Always use pulling straps. Like I said last time, your leg strength is much stronger than your grip strength. So we don't want our grips to be the limiting factor in your ability to increase intensity. Fix your bra straps before you strap in, because your bra straps will slide off your shoulders unless you've got big enough delts, which I do not. We'll do 1 warm-up set and then 2 heavy sets. So with this wrist straps, you want this floppy thing to come in between your thumb and your index finger. Then you're just gonna grab it like you would a normal dumbbell. Take the strap, wrap it around. You only have to do it once. Pull it nice and tight, and then you're done. When it comes to doing the other hand, usually do like, if you're right-handed, do your right hand last because you're going to be more coordinated with that. Just use your thumb to like thread it through, tie it nice and tight, and then you're there. If your gym shorts don't have you feeling like an absolute slut, they're not the right ones. I should do 37.5s, but I really only want to do 35. But now that I've said that, I'll do the 37.5s. A few tips as far as like, except for making the movement easier on yourself. Only point of stability is going to be your feet in the ground. Make sure that you got them firmly in the ground. Do not wear your freaking, what do you call them, Yeezys or whatnot, like anything padded, don't wear them. Use flat soles, or so a Vans or a Converse are going to be a good idea. I use Vivo barefoot, or just go barefoot. Imagine talking your feet into the ground. Tense your quads so that you don't have this happening, because the quads attach onto the pelvis. If you create tension there, the hips are just going to go like this, which is what we want. Tailbone away from the hips and then up towards the ceiling. Imagine like you're doing your best doggy style ever. Now we sit. Are we ready? No. Are we gonna do it anyway? Yes. Oh, thank goodness. Did they look hard? They were hard. They smell bad. When I first brought this top, I hated it, but I think I'm coming around. I like that it's nice and light, it's good for the heat, and I like that it's black, but I kind of feel like a Chinese kickboxer in it. With the step-ups, I'll show you once we set it up, but it's really to get the glutes within their full range. It's probably like my favorite exercise for doing that. Like if you do it, you'll just feel it's very isolated towards the glute, whereas something like an RDO, it's like, oh my God, my hamstrings. Whereas like, yeah, with this, it's more like, oh my God, my glutes. The hardest part is setting it up. This is why I don't do barbell glute bridges. We want the box high enough where we can get enough range of motion. That's enough range of motion there. I don't want to be like, if you're a shorter person, you'll find that like, especially if the box is too small, you're just touching the ground before you get any range. Vice versa, if you got longer legs, you're going to need a higher box. That's what she said. Whenever I give a client a meal plan, unless they specifically ask, I always do raw weights, like as far as the measurements go. And the reason being that the length of time that you cook something is going to dramatically change how much that food weighs after it's cooked. The method of cooking is also going to dramatically change how much that food weighs after it's cooked. So for accuracy, I always say raw weights. This client messaged me and said, I saw raw chicken on the meal plan. Mind you, in the video, I said everything's in raw weights. I didn't specify that you then have to cook it, which I didn't think I needed to. She goes, do you want me to eat raw chicken? Yes, yes I do. Raw chicken helps you burn more calories. Another thing that annoys me at the gym is like when people that are so underqualified to give advice. And I get that like they're trying to make friends. But there was one guy, he was training legs with two of his friends, and I think his mates were new at the gym. And he's like, we're gonna do the abduction, and he's like, so that we can get more of that out of thigh. And I was like, how the fuck is the abductor doing your out of thigh? With this one, try to keep the elbow as close to the rib cage as possible, and make sure that you're driving down towards the hip. You've probably heard that a bunch of times. Then I almost like to imagine that I'm wrapping that elbow around my rib cage. As you come up through, go through the eccentric, go down through the eccentric, not up through the eccentric. You can focus on bringing that elbow out just a little bit to get more of like those mid-ranges, if you want to. Or just do what you want. That I don't really have to rest in between unilateral arm movements because this arm is so piss weak and this arm's so much stronger that even doing the same rep range, I don't feel any tension in this arm whatsoever. Which I think is because I broke this arm pretty badly on the trampoline. And I was always a kid that like, I never screamed or yelled or anything, like I never cried. And so when I broke it, my brother just went in and said, I think Daz just broke her arm. My brother encouraged me to jump off the trampoline, so he was like, if I get mom, just don't tell her. And I was like, okay. And then she came and she grabbed my arm and she stretched it out, and it was only then that I cried. So she took me to the hospital, and with the x-rays I was able to do like all the movements and whatnot, and they're like, nah, it's not broken. The whole bone was like literally in half. I have a high pain threshold.
It's story time.
My friend had like 100 acres, and she had a quad bike and she had a bull. So we used to jump on the quad bike and go like ramming into the bull. Mum got us motorbikes. I jumped on mine and we had a dam that was empty, and I went right into the dam and went up and nearly did a backflip on the quad bike. And Mum was like, she's gonna be the first one to kill herself. So yeah, maybe I'm not a risk taker, maybe I'm just bad at doing shit. Let's finish off with some adductors rather than delts. I really don't like doing delts. I never know what to say in an outro because I feel like I've just said everything throughout the training session or at the beginning. I really don't have anything to say. This is like my typical posterior chain day. I was meant to do a lower body day, but I didn't because you guys saw that last week. Okay, that's all. That's a wrap.